This past week, the Saints fell to the Vikings by a score of 27-19. Josh Dobbs just kind of came into the building and he handled business. And the Saints got off to a slow start. They only had like 3 points, I think, in the first half. We lost our starting quarterback in the third quarter. Jameis Winston came in, showed us some hope, made some poor decisions, put us in a position down the stretch to have a chance. But ultimately, the lead was too big at that point. The Vikings they scored 24 points in the first half, which made it almost impossible to come back from. What's kind of your guys' takeaways from the game? Any bright spots? Any spots that y'all think we need to improve on? How do we get better?
You want me to go? So I'll go. This game was kind of weird because it literally was like the two first half and second half were like two completely different games. First half, Josh Dobbs rolled up into New Orleans, and basically took a shit.
It was in Minnesota.
Minnesota, I'm sorry. In Minnesota, first half, Josh Dobbs pretty much took a shit on our Saints defense. They dropped 24. Dude looked good. He's been looking good this year. Saints defense looked like shit. We couldn't get nothing going offensively. It looked like we were going to get blown out by 45. Then second half came out. Saints D complete 180. I think they had three.
We give up 3 points in the second half.
Yeah. I think the Vikings' first 3 or 4 drives, they had like 3 and outs on all those drives. Saints D played awesome second half. Carr was out. Jameis came back, balled for a little bit. threw a touchdown to Olave. Looked like we were starting to get shit going, and then Jameis went back to his old fucking ways and just started chunking shit up, making terrible decisions, and eventually costed us the game. I mean, at the end of the day, our defense can't be giving up 24 points in the first half. We're supposed to have one of the best defenses in the league. That's just unacceptable.
Who do you want to see a quarterback next week?
Well,
Sap,
they don't play this week. But
yeah.
Give us your take, Sap, on the game real quick.
So, yeah, I mean, our defense was horrible to start the game. I mean, it was bad. Don't get me wrong, I'm not taking anything away from Josh Dobbs because he's actually played very well. But like, second, he wasn't even with the team for 2 full weeks. And I mean, dude looked like he's been there all season to start the game. We started off extremely slow, and this has been a recurring theme for the Saints. You know, it seems like we can never put it together. If our offense plays somewhat decent, it's actually this is what I'll say. Usually, if our offense plays somewhat decent, our defense can't play well. If our defense plays somewhat decent, our offense doesn't play well, and most of the time that's been the case.
Yep.
This game, it was a total combination of our defense couldn't play worth a shit, and our offense was non-existent.
Yeah.
And when you have that type of recipe, obviously it's never a good thing, especially the Saints, because we don't have a good enough offense for our defense to have a bad game. And that's what happened. Not to mention,
I will say I don't think our defense had a bad game. I think they had a bad half.
Yeah, we played. Our defense played awesome second half.
What I'm saying is, though, we can't even afford that because of how bad our offense is.
No, yeah.
And so it's like we can't even afford, like, our defense has to be perfect for us to be in games. Not perfect, but like they have to be a top 5 defense for us to be in games. Like, and that's just how it is. Like, it's bad. Our offense is bad. And whenever you get a defense who allows 20 plus points in the first half, you know, it's hard to dig yourself out that hole whenever you don't have a high powered offense. And then you lose your starting quarterback. Not like he was doing anything anyway, but I mean, you lose your starting quarterback. And if there's any positive I'll take from the game, it's that our players are not so far out on Dennis Allen that they're giving up. Like, they still played to the end, which is, I mean, it speaks to the character of the team. Like, we have a lot of veteran guys who are really good football players. Why can't we put it together? I think it's coaching, but at the end of the day, they're not sold out or totally out on Dennis Allen because they fought to the end. And you see a lot of teams whenever they're just so fed up with this or that they almost intentionally just want to prove a point. And like, I'm not saying that anybody intentionally gives up, but we didn't give up. And so like, that's good to see. But at the same time, you lost your starting quarterback. Jameis is Jameis. You almost can't even knock him because it's like we didn't have a chance to win the game anyway. Obviously, it's like you don't have much confidence because as exciting of a player as he is, he's going to throw interceptions. Like I said, I don't totally fault him because we were down. He gave us at least a chance, but he can't be our starting quarterback. Carr's not hasn't been the answer this season. I don't know what to make of it anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about the defense a little bit more. Last week, Tyson Bagman, however the hell you say his last name, he came in to New Orleans, and he and Cole Kmet embarrassed. Him and Cole Kmet embarrassed the Saints last week. This week, Hawkinson and Josh Dobbs come in, brand new quarterback, brand new team, and the tight end goes absolutely berserk again. I think he had like 11 catches or something, like over 140 yards. I think he scored a touchdown. He had a ridiculous game. What is going on with our linebacker? We need to find a linebacker who can man up a tight end and figure it out, because I think that's where a lot of teams are beating us. They're using their tight end to beat us. I think our cornerbacks are doing a decent job on the outside. I think Addison was held like very minimal game. I think one of the main things we got to get better at on defense is covering the tight end. I think that would go a long way.
So there's two things I'll say. Covering the tight end, and the biggest one is historically, as good as the Saints defense has been, I wouldn't even call him mobile quarterback. Any quarterback that has 2 feet and can take a step has always hurt us. We have always struggled when it comes to a mobile quarterback. And I don't even know, like Trevor Lawrence, I know he can run, but he doesn't. It's like since he's gotten in the NFL, that hasn't been the biggest part of the game. He ran all over us, right? Josh Dobbs, I mean, dude ran all over us too. And we're allowing them to convert 3rd and longs, like 3rd and 13s, 3rd and 10.
Yep.
We're doing all this, like it was bad. It was a bad performance. It was a all-around bad performance. And like I said, when you have an offense that's struggling this much, you can't afford bad halves, much less bad quarters. Like, it was just bad.
Yeah. So obviously, Saints got a bye coming up this next week. So they won't be having a game. Coming off of the bye, let's assume that Derrick Carr is not 100% healthy, but he can go out there and he can rough it and he can go play if he wants. But again, not 100% healthy. Who do you think is in the best interest of the Saints to run out there? Do y'all think it's best to roll out Carr? Do you think it's best to let's see what Jameis can do? Maybe we could trade him away at the end of the season and get something for him.
It's Carr. We invested too much into him. While, I mean, Jameis did provide us a little spark second half. Carr's a guy you bought in, your team's bought into. You've been practicing him with the ones all season. You're going to roll him out there. If he can play, you're putting him out there.
Yeah.
And we've seen Jameis run the team, and he has looked good in spurts, but I mean, he still goes back to just making absolutely terrible decisions. And if the defense plays bad, that's going to cost us the game. But a thing that will definitely cost us the game is turnovers. And I know for a fact Jameis Winston is one of the most prone quarterbacks in the league to turnovers. So we just can't have that.
Yeah, and just to like I said, I think me and Brennan are very much so on the same page. It's Carr for sure, for a couple of reasons. Obviously, because of what you invested in him, you have to give him a chance, even though he hasn't played well. Like, I agree, and also to be fair, despite the fact that Carr went down, like we weren't winning that game with Carr. Like, let's be very clear about that. We were not winning that game with Carr or Winston, but at least Winston did give us a chance. But like,
I think we could have won the game with Winston. The way our defense was playing, I think if he had a little bit more time, I think it could have went our favor.
Well,
it didn't.
I'm giving Winston some credit in the sense that like we weren't winning that game with Carr. I agree. And so like every once in a while, like whenever you're struggling that bad, it is nice to have like Winston in that scenario where it's like, dude, we're down, just go throw it. And that's essentially what he did. And so like, while I don't totally fault him for throwing the 2 interceptions, it's like he was going to throw 2 interceptions even if the game wasn't lopsided. Like that's just in his nature. So it's like, to me, it's like I'm out on Winston as my starting quarterback. Carr at least he's a better game manager, and you invested all this money in him. You have to give him a chance. It's still his first season. At the end of the day, I don't think either one of these guys are the answer, and it's unfortunate because of the fact that we have one of the older rosters in the league. It's like we're really running out of options at this point. So it's disappointing to that sense, but our defense has got to get better. Dennis Allen has got to coach better. I mean, this team is very inconsistent. And the one thing that I'll say is when you see inconsistent teams, most of the time it has to do with the coaching.
It's coaching.
Most of the time it has to do with the coaching. And as good as a defensive coach he is, right? He's not a head coach. I mean, think about it for a second. Josh Dobbs came in. He didn't come in our house, but he came in on a week and a half. We'll give him a week and a half. And he whooped up on the Saints, who most people would probably say were a top 5 defense. Okay. He whooped up on them. Imagine if Kevin O'Connell had our team. Like, what do you think we'd be doing? So, like, I'm saying that it's obviously a coaching thing, and I don't know if they're going to get rid of him. That's one of the things that concerns me.
That's the scary part. Yeah.
I have a different take on the Winston situation. I think it's actually in the Saints' best. I think it's in their best interest to play Winston coming off of the bye. Like y'all said, we put a lot of money in Derrick Carr stock. Why do we need to rush him back in the season where, like, I mean, it doesn't look like we have too much going for us. Why not? Let's see what Jameis can do. Let Carr get healthy. Let's see what Jameis can do. If Jameis sucks, Carr's getting healthy, he can come back. I think it's just all around in their best option, interest to let Jameis Winston have one more week, maybe 2 more weeks. Let's get Carr back to 100%. Let's put the healthy guy on the field. Let's give our team a chance to win. Make a playoff push. Let's get Carr healthy for the playoffs. If we think Carr gives us the best chance to win, at that point, we can go back to Carr. I just think it's in our best interest, I think, to roll Jameis out for a couple more weeks and see what he can give to us.
I think I don't agree with that because, okay, for one, Carr his shoulder, they already came out and they said that the shoulder injury wasn't very serious. So you have $150 million invested in a guy to be your starting quarterback. I don't know if Mickey has publicly announced that Dennis's job is on the line, but like his job in the next, I'd say after this year, he's got one more year. If he doesn't do anything, he's definitely gone, and he should be gone after this year.
Yeah.
But so to sit your starting quarterback who you paid $150 million because
it's probably like $80 million guaranteed, but
but it's $150 million contract, right?
Yeah, he ain't seeing 4 years, so he ain't seeing 150. I promise you that.
But that is a very bold move. You convince an organization that this is the guy that you need to invest in. They went out and they got him for you. To bench him, because you're essentially benching him because he's coming off a concussion and he would have a whole week's bye. So to bench him and for Jameis to potentially cost us the game, I mean, that's not a good look on the head coach.
Yeah, I'd say it's hard to say that Jameis cost us the game. He was digging us out of Carr's hole.
No, I'm saying for next game.
He's saying for future games.
If you lose the game because let's say it was a close game and Jameis throws 2-3 picks, which is really not like off the table. It's like, dude, you just sat the dude who you wanted to get for $150 million and you just lost the game. So you're really putting your ass on the line for that. And I don't think that they're confident enough in Jameis Winston to make that kind of move. I mean, I know they're not because Dennis Allen came out and said it's not a competition. Derrick Carr is our starting quarterback. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons why Jameis won't come on the field.
We'll see what happens. I know a lot of the fans, some fans feel one way, some fans feel another way. Jameis Winston's definitely won over the locker room. Big like team guy, fan favorite for sure. We'll see what happens going forward. I think, like we said, a lot of it's just tied to the money, right? We got to follow the money. All the money's. I think Carr's making 40-something million. Jameis is making like 4. So it's like.
Well, let's be clear too, though, and I know you don't agree. Carr is our better option. Carr's our better option because yes, I
I
know
think sometimes he is, but like in this past game, 3 points in the first half, that was hard to watch, bro. Like put Jameis. I'll take 2 touchdowns and 2 picks over no touchdowns, no picks.
Well, I will say
all day
this:
long.
first half, if Jameis is in there, at least he's slinging that sumbitch a lot more than Carr.
He's putting
is.
up more
So
than 3. I'll tell you.
he's
something.
gonna.
it's like James can win any game, but week in and week out, it's hard to deny that I feel like Carr is the better option
Yeah.
with a solid defense. Like
Jameis can also lose us any game, which
keep
I
in
feel
mind,
That's another thing too. Like if our
Carr-
defense
Carr's
is
not
playing
gonna lose
elite,
us.
like yeah, Carr is definitely the safer option. Our defense hasn't been playing elite though, so like it's kind of hard to say like Carr puts us in a better chance to win whenever our defense isn't playing good. Like
yeah, but like to put in Winston because you're banking on your defense having a bad game, like that's and you're not going to bench your starting quarterback once you start him. But another thing is that like we're in first place. Like let's not forget that. I know it. We are the most fluky first place team known to NFL history, probably. But we're still
in our division. Yeah.
yeah, we're in first place, right? So, dude, it doesn't take much to win this division. Let's just win this division and pray that we can somehow figure it out whenever we get to the playoffs.
Yep.
I think that's our best chance. I think the NFC is kind of weak. I mean, the Lions have looked good. The Eagles, the 49ers.
Dallas has looked really good.
They got some good teams. Definitely not as strong as the AFC. I think if the Saints, if we could pull the 4 seed, Dallas, they'd end up with the 5 seed because the Eagles are probably going to win that division, right? So Dallas would end up with the 5 seed. If we got the 4 seed, and we're playing the 5 seed Dallas in the first round. I like the Saints options. Dallas is a choke job.
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm not gonna lie. I think the Saints win that game. I think Dallas is better, no question about it. But like the Saints will win that game. I promise you. Like, so that's how I feel about it. If we can sneak in that 4, I like our chance to at least win that first round of the playoffs. So we'll see what happens.